So one of my favorite things in life is when someone is passionately explaining to me something I don't understand, and I passionately ignore them while seeming interested. Yes, I'm talking about every conversation I've had about Web3, but a lot of people can say the same about guitar modes, right? Guitar modes are like, all right, I kind of get it, but I don't get it. I don't know why I'm learning this. It seems like a guitar-centric thing that other instruments don't really spend as much time on. So today I'm going to do my best attempt at explaining how one mode shape can actually fit in a non-modal way. We're talking about the shape and how much value just learning different positions is going to have on your playing, okay? So the example we're going to do is in the people's key, the key of G, and it's going to start off sounding something like this. Okay, so if you notice, I'm really doing a chord, and then I'm kind of doing something lead style that is not in the tried and true major scale position, or not even in the minor pentatonic position, right? So maybe this is something that can help you break out of specific shapes that you've been using with. Before we get started, I want to say that this video is sponsored by Elixir Strings, the finest strings in all the land. I've got them outfitted on my Taylor 814 here, really my favorite guitar of all time. Taylors come stocked with Elixir strings, so you know that like the best guitar manufacturer in the world is not going to put some clown strings on. So get yourself some Elixirs. I will link you in the description. Thank you to Elixir for sponsoring this video, my favorite strings of all time. All right, so G major, the one chord in G major is G major. Makes sense with me so far? Helps if you know the notes. G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. That right there. Or if you're a 3 notes per string kind of guy or gal, looks like that. But that's a position that maybe some of you are very familiar with, all right? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a different note in G and play those same 7 notes in order, right? We're gonna start on the 5th of G, G, A, B, C, D, okay? So take that exact same shape, start on a D, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D. Okay, so it looks exactly identical to the major scale shape, but I'm going 5A, 7A, 4, 5, 7 on the D string, 4, 5, 7, okay? So, modally speaking, this would be D mixolydian, okay? It has a flat 7 compared to the major scale. If we were to play D major, it'd look like this. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp. There's that 7th note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But in the G scale, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, flat 7, okay? Now, that confuses a lot of people. It confused me when I first started. But thinking of it as a shape, actually, this shape I think is way easier to play through in context with other chords because it is so symmetrical, right? 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7. Every string, A, D, and G, gets 5, 7, right? And then the 4, 5, 7, 4, 5, 7. Okay? So, really just kind of practice this forward and backward. We're going to be skipping around all over the place. But think of where the root note in our parent key, remember, even though this is D mixolydian's shape, we're in the G scale. Here's the G right here. Right there, the 5th fret on the D string is an octave G, okay? So, now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take chords from the G major scale progression, right? G major 7 is what I like to play right here. There's my G on the low E string. I've got my ring finger and my pinky on the D and the G string, and my middle finger on the D on the B string, 3rd fret. Okay, now right off the bat, if you look at my ring finger, my pinky, 4 and 4, you'll see that comes from that shape. Okay, so all this stuff is connected. You don't have to be thinking in D mixolydian to play these shapes, but learning the mode hand shape is especially important, okay? So now what I can do is I can maybe play a little one after the other. I start with a chord, and then I leave myself some room, and then I'm gonna end on that G note in the scale. I don't have to end there. See how it kind of like sets it up to maybe resolve there? But once we start adding different chords in this key into it, it might sound even, might sound better. You might be kind of gravitating towards a different part of that shape. For example, let's add the next chord in this key, A, G, A. A is the second note in the key of G, so A minor would be the chord. If you watched the video I did last week on different easy chord voicings, you may have seen this shape right here, A minor 7, where it's really just the 5th fret, E string, D string, and G string. Now once again, look at my ring finger and my pinky, okay? From that shape that we did, any chord that you make, that you'll start seeing the patterns. We're like, oh, this pattern is like, I can think of this as like, maybe the minor 7 and the 3rd of my A minor chord, but that's also really the symmetrical part of this hand position. That's why learning the mode shapes, even if you're not playing modally, is a great thing to do, because you kind of get this map of the fretboard in your mind, and you start making these connections. And it's like, oh, well, now these fingers are together, I can pivot here into maybe G, A. I can slide these two together. Back to G. Okay? So, because we're not really playing any of these over a D chord, again, we can add that, which we will in a second, it's not really giving you a D Mixolydian feel, right? You're not really feeling like the flat 7 in that, but you're really just kind of complementing other chords in this key. So really, aside from just being like, all right, now I know the mode shapes, aside from it just being something you can tell your friends and bore your friends with, much like Web3, you know what I mean? Same with like, it's like the Web3 conversation is always quickly followed by the, now's a good time to buy Ethereum. They're one and the same. They're the same conversation. It's the setup. And instantly check out. That's when I just do the thing where I look right into their eyes, their dead crypto Web3 eyes, and just be like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I should really do that. Yeah, I'm thinking about getting those diamond hands. It's kind of funny how many crypto-related jokes I've had in the last year as it just continues plummeting. Anyway, so let's add a D major chord to this progression, but let's just not make it let's not make this your granddaddy's D major chord. Let's give it a little bit of vibe, right? Maybe this D major 9 type deal, right? So I've got, again, we're starting from that shape. We're taking a lot of these same notes from this shape, right? If I take the first one, right? 1, 2, 3, the 1, 3, and then that flat 7. I'm gonna get this D7, right? So 5A, 4D, 5G, and then you can either lay your entire ring finger down on that 5th fret to get this cool sound, right? I like that. I think that D major 9, whatever, or D9, not D major 9. So we've got G major 7, A minor 7, or 11 if you want to add your pointer finger there. All right, now if you just kind of jam over this D7 chord, now you're kind of getting that. You can focus in on what makes the D special in this key. Right, just back and forth. Right? The flat 7 and the major 3rd is why this chord, the 5 chord in the key, is kind of special. And that's all from exploring that shape and the intervals within specifically that flat 7, which makes it sound kind of like half minor chord, half major chord. Again, there's the D major vibe, D minor vibe together creates the tasty vibe, right? So we can go G major 7, get in that shape. A minor. And then go to your granddaddy's. I like how I call this the granddaddy's D chord. Is that insulting to grandfathers out there? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. But again, the cool thing is all of this is movable, right? And I think the best way to kind of see this in your mind's eye is to make a traditional power chord or major bar chord, and then that shape is always going to start on the 5th, right? So in the key of G, it just starts right where my ring finger is. Just pop your middle finger there, and then there's the shape. I can do any key. In the key of A, where's my ring finger? It's on that E note. Then I can do the same thing with the E9. See how that kind of just sounds cool? That's the whole point of that 5 chord is to create a tension to bring you back home. Okay? So, you learn a lot from just learning like one mode hand position shape. And again, all that means when I say modes is like there's 7 notes in a key in, you know, most Western keys. And each one of those notes can have its own hand shape that I really recommend everybody learn. I go through this in more detail on my Patreon. If you want to sign up for my Patreon, I'll put a link in the description too. But I think thinking about it in context of like a chord progression is always the way to do it, because you end up just solidifying those bonds a little bit better. So again, root note, 5th, make that shape. See what's cool about it is the symmetry. And then it points you back home. So a really cool way that you can kind of experiment with just little lead things in between chords that has been brought to you by Elixir Strings, the finest strings in the land. So yeah, definitely love this guitar. Taylors don't sound like Taylors without Elixir Strings, am I right? So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, send me with the comment section, Instagram, Twitter, or the website, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks a lot.